Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it's the beginning of November, pretty much the end of the garden season, and I've been hard at work all day trying to get the garden beds cleaned up ahead of another freeze. Now, this freeze is going to be a pretty deep freeze. I think we're going to get below 20 degrees this time, and we have a couple of different things that need to be harvested before this freeze. Now, I wanted to show you first what I did, and then hopefully we can get the harvest done before it gets dark, because tomorrow is going to be a very stormy day. So let's get going pretty quickly. First thing I did was tear out all my tomatoes. They were definitely frozen and gone. There's a few hardier leafy crops left over there. And then we've got our Jerusalem artichoke, which is what we're going to be harvesting today. Let's show you my upper gardens. We finally got the strawberry bed cleaned out. The only one that I'm going to leave is this Buried Treasure strawberry, because I spent so much money on it this spring. Didn't get any strawberries on it, but it was healthy, so we're going to leave it there. I actually have got to get some straw over it before tomorrow. We emptied out all the other beds. This is some leftover garlic from 2 years ago, actually. For some reason it's still sprouting. Finally got our garlic planted. This is the bed that we planted the garlic in, and I'll link a video up on top about how I plant garlic, because I think for the past 2 or 3 years I've done a video every single time that I've planted garlic, and I had so much to do today that I figured that it would be okay this year if we did not do a video. But in case you're wondering, you can watch one of the videos that I linked above. Now, like I said, this is the beginning of November. We're going to have some pretty heavy freezes, and I think the ground is going to start freezing starting tomorrow night. And it'll probably stay frozen for a little while. But as long as the ground isn't frozen, you can plant garlic. This is probably the latest I've ever planted garlic. We've got all of our other beds cleaned out. We've got a little bit of compost put in them. We've closed up our hoop houses pretty tight. We've got some cabbages, kohlrabi, chijimisai, kale in these. And then the next thing that we're going to harvest is the Dioscorea, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct. And I think it's either japonica or Dioscorea batatas. These are Chinese mountain yam. So we're going to be harvesting this. This has been in the ground for 2 years. And we're just going to see what the tubers under the ground look like. Now, before we go harvest the Jerusalem artichoke, I'm hoping somebody can let me know if the persimmon fruit can tolerate a freeze below 20 degrees. These are definitely not ripe. They're still hard. This is the Nikita's Gift, and you're supposed to wait until they get a little bit softer. Although I think they have a little bit more give today than they had yesterday. And they're getting to be a really good color, but they're still, I don't think, where they're supposed to be. But I've never harvested a persimmon, so I'm hoping somebody will let me know if it's okay to leave them below 20 degrees outside. So the first thing that we're going to do to harvest the Jerusalem artichokes, and I don't know if I'm actually going to harvest them all, we'll see, because I've heard you can leave them in ground through the whole winter and they'll still be fine. And I don't know if I'm actually going to like them, so I think I want to harvest a few of them, see what I think, leave the rest in the ground, and if I like them, then next year I can harvest most of them and replant some of them. So the first thing that we're going to do, though, is we're going to cut down the foliage. These had gorgeous yellow flowers on them, and I'll link a picture up at the top to show you what that looked like. Now I wanted to see if I could just pull this out of the ground. I don't know if that's going to happen. Get my hands under here. Maybe it will. Wow, look at that. I didn't know this is what they look like. So we've got several little, I don't know, corms, bulbs, rhizomes, whatever, several of the Jerusalem artichokes just hanging like that. Look how cool that is. There we go. That is really neat. Let's see if we can pull the other ones out. This is what they look like. There's several more in here. Now, the reason I put these in a bed like this is because I've heard, and I can see why, that these can be very invasive. If you plant them in the ground, it's really hard to get all of them. And so they will just be there forever. And this bed is going to be dedicated for Jerusalem artichokes, so that should be just fine. Let's see if this one will pull right out of the ground like the last one. Oh, this one's going to be harder. Oh, wow. They're already growing further away from the mother plant. Here's one that was just right at the surface. Another one. Yeah, these are pretty productive. Wow, these are in here really good. They've already rooted all the way through the bed. I just pulled this one out from over here. Look at that. That is incredible. I had no idea that they would be that productive. So hopefully, I like Jerusalem artichokes. That is a lot of food. Now we're not going to clean this up. We're going to head straight up because it's starting to get dark, and we're going to harvest the Dioscorea, or the Chinese mountain yam. We'll see what that looks like. This is fun. Now, Chinese mountain yam is another interesting plant. Now, I didn't purchase anything. I actually had a friend, well, maybe I purchased it from the friend, but he had some leftovers. And so I planted these little tiny tubers in my bed. And I'm going to see if any of them have fallen off. Last year, we didn't get any of the little tubers that grow on the vine. This year, I had a few of them. And let me see if we can find some of those to show you what they look like. Now, here they are. These are little tuberals. I'm going to harvest these. These are what I planted the first time. You know, I just got a bag full of these and planted them, and they grew up as vines. And supposedly these are edible also. So I'm going to harvest these, and then we're going to pull up the vines. There's actually some more on this. Not sure how many there are, but we will look and see. Now, I may have waited too long to harvest these because they're actually falling to the ground really, really easily. Just a couple more. I've had several fall on the ground, but they're so tiny and I don't really have time to search for them. So I only found a few, but those are enough to plant next year if I decide I like them. Now, my trellis has been no good this year. It's not been helpful really very much at all. We're just going to pull this out and pull everything up, and then I think we're going to have to dig the tubers up. This is the biggest one I've found so far. The videos that I've watched, they're huge. They're like this long, this big around, and you really have to dig to pull them up. It has the same white center that the ones in the videos have shown, but this is not worth it after 2 years. Let me see if I can find anything else. Well, it looks like I will not be planting Chinese mountain yam. Out of, I think there was 6 or 7 vines that came up. This is the only tuber that I found, and it is not worth planting them ever again. So it was fun, a fun experiment. It took 2 years. We've got this and this many of the tuberals. So we will, I don't know what I'll be doing with this. Maybe I'll share them with somebody else and see if they have a little more success. But at least we tried. That was fun. I think the next thing I want to try is ground nuts. Now, the reason I'm trying all these different things, and if you notice I don't grow potatoes, I am on a diet where I've cut out most starchy vegetables, you know, the most starchy ones. Jerusalem artichoke is absolutely fine. I've cut out most grains and I've cut out most sugars. I've cut down my fruit intake quite a bit, so mostly what I eat is meat and veggies and the root crops that are not as starchy. So potatoes are out. I'm looking for a substitute for potatoes. I did grow sweet potatoes, which I will eat very sparingly, but those are a little bit better than potatoes. So anyway, this ends this experiment. I think the Jerusalem artichokes is a win. The Chinese mountain yam is not a win. And on to trying new things. It's a lot of fun to try growing new things. And I'd love to hear if you've grown Chinese mountain yam and if you've gotten the big, huge, fleshy tubers, and if you have, what you've done to get those. I'd also love to hear if you've grown anything else fun and interesting and what your plans are for next year. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If it's been helpful, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.